Hi, I'm Glenn, City of Island Fishing Field Team, COF Field Team, and this round we're going to talk about mop flies. And previously we were tying these mop flies, but we were using a technique like you would do for tying egg patterns. And what we're going to do this round is tie one using a dubbing loop. This baby right here. This is a dubbing loop. All right. And here is the mop fly. Okay, so let's go ahead and try tying this baby. All right, so very simple tie. You'll start out with, in this case, we're using a heavier jig fly or whatever. This is a 180 ounce with a gold plating or coloring. We'll lay down a base. So kind of bear with us here since we're kind of tying off to the side. We'll lay down a base here. Okay. And just because we like covering up the hook, we like taking it all the way close to the bend here. Alright. Alright, so we started out with a jig fly hook, some orange Dacron tying thread, and then the next thing we'll do is grab one of these babies right here. This is a mop, dust mop deal, and we'll just snip off a piece here. We can get a view of it here. Snip off a piece. Alright. So there it is, little piece. This kind of clean up the edges a little bit just to get this thread piece started, and then we'll tie it on here. It's secured about midway, and this is pretty much the same way we tied the other variation of it, where we're tying it with an egg pattern or egg sac, I guess you want to call it, but we'll just tie it and secure it in place here. Okay. So let's just get it all on there. There we go. There it is. Okay. And we'll go ahead and add in a little super glue just to make sure it stays on there for good, and then we'll wrap a couple of more little tying thread to it, and then we'll prep a dubbing loop. What we do is you have this tool, there's various ones that you have, but we'll form a loop with the thread, and then from there we'll be able to tie on the egg portion of it. And so in this case, before we were using about 3 strands of the egg yarn. Right, here's some egg yarn, and we would tie it on here, wrap it, and then we'd flip it over, tie another one, wrap it, kind of brush it out a little, and then spend the next 5-10 minutes getting it all shaped and everything. Instead, with this one, we're going to use a dubbing loop, and what we'll do is we'll kind of thin out the threads a little bit here, or fibers off the egg pattern right here, so you got a nice little egg pattern like deal. We'll just set that aside, and then we'll go and prep the dubbing loop. And what we do here is just grab one end of a piece of the tying thread, and then we'll tie it back up here, do a couple of more rounds here, go around it, secure it in place, and take it to the front. Yeah. And then what you have is this piece right here. And in fact, forgot to do this, but you can spread it out so you have a nice wide gap. We'll take this baby over here, lay our thread aside, and then those fibers that we had earlier, just grab those here, and we'll just put them in between the 2 threads, get it nicely spread apart. Okay. Just to get things going, and then we'll kind of spin it. All right. And just keep spinning it. And let's go ahead and spread this a little bit more just to give it more body. And we'll continue to spin it around. Okay. All right. And then once we have that, we'll go ahead and take it around several wraps to get it around it started. And what this will do is it'll form the egg sac for us instead of having to keep tying in these multiple threads. And we'll just kind of work our way to the front, kind of push back some of the fibers, and you can see it's getting nicely balled up, but we're not having as much excess as we had compared to the other way we tied it in that traditional egg pattern. So once we have that, we'll go ahead and tie off the dubbing loop with a couple of thread wraps just to hold it in place. And then we'll go ahead and snip off the dubbing loop and then finish off the head with some more thread wraps. All right, and then we'll take our whip finish tool and apply a couple of whip finishes. Oops, tough to get it on this angle, but there we go. Just several wraps there just to hold it in place. And then at that point, we are almost done. We'll go ahead and throw some super glue here just to hold the thread in place. You can also use head cement, UV glue, but for this we're kind of like using super glue. All right, let it dry a little bit here, and then we can kind of ruffle the deals out there. So at this point you can kind of leave it like this if you want to leave it all bushy, but you don't want to do that. Instead you can shape it now, and you can see that this one's a lot quicker to shape because you don't have near as much material to contend with as when we were doing the three fibers or three sections of egg yarn and having to remove it, or not remove it, but tie it off and then kind of flip it over, add another section on the bottom, and then what ended up happening is you had a lot more excess to cut off. And in this case, all you have is just a real quick trim, and you can leave it as long as you want or you can leave it as short as you want, but that's pretty much it right there. And we find that we don't use near as much egg yarn. In fact, this is about the excess that we have down here compared to what we had before was a whole clump of this. So there's two of them. All right. So this is the variation, or this is a variant that I believe we're probably going to start tying these going forward using a dubbing loop. Okay, dubbing loop. All right, we'll get some better pictures of it here. All right. So just to reiterate the material, the Mop Fly is made out of a microfiber dust mop. We'll just take one of these for the body. We'll use some egg yarn right here, an orange in this case, and just a small clump of it that will add to the dubbing loop. Tool perspective, we've got the orange thread, Dacron tying thread on the bobbin, scissors, whip finish tool, and the dubbing loop. Okay, there's the dubbing loop. And then of course we have some crazy glue, super glue. And that's it. So hope you guys give this a try. I think you'll like it. It's a much easier tie than those egg pattern variant or style. and then we find that we're using or wasting less material having to cut it off. And the other day we ended up catching a good amount of fish with this baby. All right, till next time, we'll catch you later, and good luck and good fishing. Thanks for checking out our videos. We hope you like what we're doing. If you do, do like and subscribe.